Hey everyone, this is interesting. I was like, I tried to go live to Twitter because apparently you can do that. Who knew? And I was just sitting here because my daughter's getting a haircut. And so I'm just kind of like chilling out, waiting for them to come back, go to lunch. It's Sunday, whatever. And I was like, I opened up Twitter, which is always a mistake. And I looked at it and I was like, God, this is such trash. And then I saw the little plus button. And I'm like, what does this do? Oh, this is how you tweet. Because I don't usually do it for my phone, if I ever do it at all. It's like usually my team does it and posts the junk. And so my team, meaning, one person. Hi, Erica. And it said, oh, you can go live. And I was like, oh, let me try that. So I start doing it. And it says you're live, but I don't see anybody. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I go for a couple minutes and then I'm like, fuck this. I turn it off. And I look and it was like, apparently there are 3 comments, which I couldn't see, 17 people watching, which I couldn't see. And the replay was like this, it looked like a light bright from the 70s. Like that was the resolution. And I'm like, as always, Twitter just crushing the game. Crushing the game. Hello from your biggest dental fan, KBoss19. So let me understand. You're a dentist or in the dental profession, or you're a fan of my dentition, which that's concerning on every level because nobody is a fan of my teeth except for me. I'm happy with my teeth. I don't want them to go away. I have dreams about them falling out. I don't know what we're talking about today. You tell me. I'm going to look at your comments. We'll make it whatever it is. Of course we're watching you. We love it. Oh, Cam, look at you. So sweet. Look at this beautiful day, though. It got real sunny. We've had the June gloom in the Bay Area where it just gets foggy and shitty, and now it's better. Dallas, Texas in the house, just Jules. I like that. Just the family Jules. Brooke says, thank you for talking about the imposter syndrome as ofteness. It's been happening for me towards the last year of nursing. It's very common. Now, here's the thing about imposter syndrome, like, where you think you're like, you don't belong and so on. None of us belong. Like, all of our mind-created selves are imposters in the sense that there really is nothing there. So in the truest sense, any identity, any self-sense is an imposter. It doesn't really exist. But that's a whole nother game. Oh, okay, let's see. Hey, from Vegas, Jeff Lum, heading out on a vacation to the Great Basin in Yellowstone. Dude, I've always wanted to go to Yellowstone. I have not been yet. Let me increase the, there we go. Hell, hang on. This little gimbal. That's nice. I like this. It's easy to hold. Maggie G, hot and sweaty, Florida in the house. Why you gotta be that way, Maggie G? Why you gotta like get all hot and bothered just because, you're in Florida? I like it. Omar, you can afford them Tool, LOL. They only like 7K. What are we talking about? What Tool? What are we talking about, Omar? Help me out. Single Threat. Hello, sir. I am new to your channel. Have a blessed day. I like the way you operate. Blessed day is a good day. Hey, long time Brendan Braces. I don't know what you're saying, Omar. New Orleans in the house. Morris. How are you doing, Morris? I remember Morris Day and the Time as a wonderful band, 80s related. Okay, Spirit Channel 333, some kind of lucky number. Half a 666 says, hey, can you comment on the data for multiple countries' reports of excess deaths? Thank you. No, I can't. Because I don't care. Like, listen, it's not, you know what I mean when I say I don't care. I've already looked at this stuff. It's like excess death data. You can have excess deaths. What's the cause? That's the question. And there are so many potential causes for excess death in the era of pandemic and post-pandemic that people want to blame it on COVID or they want to blame it on vaccines. And the truth is, the answer is yes. Like it's excess death is exactly that. If there's more deaths than you would expect statistically for this particular period of time, and even that's a tricky calculation, but the question then is, okay, so what's causing the excess deaths? Is it the pandemic? Is it the response to the pandemic? People would have you believe it's the vaccination campaign. I'm just going to tell you guys this. like every single fucking person who talks about this is batshit crazy. Like, that's what I think. Like, just come on. It's one thing if like if they're still mandating vaccines to get into college to do that, which I disagree with at this point. I've disagreed with it early on. It's not a good strategy because this is not a vaccine that necessarily prevents transmission. It may prevent severe disease, especially in vulnerable populations. So that's not okay. But let's say they're not doing that. Why are we still talking about this? Like, there's so much else going on right now, meaning there's absolutely nothing going on right now. You can put that in the regular colors if you want. My daughter, who is 11, does our laundry now as one of her chores. So they get, paid every week to do their chores. And so she's always like coming up with like various garments. And it's like, where does this go? Does this go in hots, delicates? Does this go in colors? Like, to me, that's vastly more interesting than continuing to pound a fucking dead horse about this bullshit that nobody honestly cares about except for insane people online. Who, by insane, I mean it's just it's a mental loop that we create in thought. None of it exists in reality. It's all an illusion. It's all an appearance. And it's only as real as you want to believe it's real. So if you want to believe all that stuff is real and you want to talk about excess death and this and this and this, go watch Vinay's channel or go follow Jay Bhattacharya on Twitter or any of this stuff. Like, they're still interested in this stuff because they feel like there should be accountability if mistakes have been made, right? Yeah, I've said everything I want to say about this stuff, honestly. It's so boring. It's just so fucking boring. Let's see. Hey man, we exchanged some emails a couple years ago when I was the mayor of Mill Valley. Thanks for your unique mix of vulnerability, authenticity, and humor. Oh, those were great, Sashi. I remember. You're doing the right thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Mill Valley. So, or Sahi, sorry. It's hard to see. I cannot see in the sun these tiny little words. It is Sashi? Yes, Sashi. One of my good friends lives in Mill Valley and we go hiking Mount Tam all the time. So I'm in your hood fairly often. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, thank you for being with us. Who said this? My laundry is non-dual, Rick Reynolds. That's right, Rick Pa. Laundry is just as it is. It's just what is happening. There's no subject and no object when it comes to laundry. It's just laundry, laundrying. And there isn't even laundry. There's just laundrying. There's just the processing of laundrying. Patrick, 10% increase in annual excess death is a once in a 200-year event. Oh, shut up, dude. I don't care. I really don't care. We've talked about excess death on so many shows. Yeah. Once in a 200-year event. And pandemic is how often? So is it the pandemic itself? Is it the response to the pandemic? Is it vaccine? How can you know? How can you know without studying it directly? So it's all just speculation. So unless you're going to go fund a trial and how are you going to do that? Talk to Vinay about designing good trials, which we should have been doing, and masking on all this other stuff. Yeah, I just don't care. Let's see. Do you have to be a certain age to be on here, sir? Single threat. Yes, you have to be this year's old to be on here. Ashley Stewart, what I want to understand is why people still want to talk about COVID. I mean, Ashley, I think it's because they've been traumatized. Either on one end, like their public health folks and their doctors and their others that just have been just brutalized by the system about this and by the backlash to what they're trying to do to help people. Or they're people who were traumatized by the response to COVID, shutting down of schools, losing jobs, economic, stuff, the worsening split between the wealthiest and the poorest and everyone else, like worsening wealth inequity. The pandemic made all that worse. People are traumatized by it. And then there's a faction of people that are they're stuck in a thought loop where this is their identity now. I'm the person who questions COVID response, or I'm the person who questions anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers, and it just becomes identity. flying in a loop, because that's what the mind does. It's always trying to solve problems. It's always trying to protect its identity. It's always trying to create separation between itself and the world, because that's how it can think it can survive. And so this is all natural and normal, and also delusion. Plain and simple. It's all madness. So I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you and say, oh, I care about this now and like I think this is real. I don't. So if that's not something you like, then unsubscribe from the channel or don't watch or whatever. I don't care. If nobody watched anything that I do, it really doesn't matter. I would just stop doing it, or I might just still do it because I like to talk. This body mind likes to talk. If you haven't figured that out. Deanne, how do you feel your compassion and suffering around feeling compassion, such as seeing people being harmed, shifted since you've begun your awakening? The pain can be overwhelming for me. So this is the thing. This is all appearance, but it's also real to the extent that it's exactly what's happening. So if the appearance is a being who is suffering, so a being who, apparently thinks all of this is real, thinks that they're a person separate from everything that is, and that somehow this is not perfect. It could be otherwise, in other words. That's going to generate suffering. That suffering, that apparent experience is the entire universe at that point. It's everything for that viewpoint, that being. So how can you not experience that and not feel it as everything? And that's how it's experienced here. When people are suffering, it becomes everything. You feel it absolutely intensely. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's what's happening. You can try to resist that, but you'll fail because it's what's happening. And then the resistance is exactly what's happening. So what it leads to is not an artificial compassion where you tell a story that, you want to help people because they're kind of like you, like empathy, like I feel their pain and, I want that pain to stop. It's more like a movement arises where you can definitely feel that, what that is. It's energetically experienced even here, even though it's happening apparently there because it's one expression. The whole environment is just expressing. But what happens is your spontaneous action is just naturally aligned with a more compassionate way of moving. There's no other way to really talk about it. People talk about the bodhisattva vow, like, I vow to save all sentient beings from suffering or whatever, from delusion and free them and so on. That's all wonderful and great, but the movement of the bodhisattva is a spontaneous happening when it's seen clearly that there never was separation, that there never were separate beings. So when you see an apparent separate being apparently suffering, the way that you show up in the world is it just is the act of love and compassion, because that's all there is. It's seen that everything is made up of. There's no thing. It's all love. And saying that sounds corny and stupid, but when you experience it, you just go, oh yeah, I know what he's pointing at. So you show up in the world in a very compassionate way, even though you're feeling all this. You don't take it as your own because there's no you. There isn't a you to hold that suffering as a burden. There's just the suffering and just the response spontaneously. There's just what's showing up. Rigpa says, existence is the knowledge of good and bad, knowledge that is ignorance. Non-duality is non-ignorance, which is the tree of life. So everything you said is exactly right, and it will make no sense to the mind at all. And it's exactly right. It's exactly right. This can't be known by the mind. What happened to the podcast with Vinay Morris, the VPZD show? So it's funny, he got busy, he started traveling. I got more interested in awakening, and we'll have a phone call every now and again and just catch up, but we haven't found the click to actually do another show yet. So what our plan is, and whether this will happen, it just depends on how things unspool. Our plan is when we find like a 6-hour window, we're going to get together and record straight all our repressed shows for 6 hours, and then cut them up and have 6 episodes of VPZD. So that's our plan. We'll see if it actually happens. But I don't know. It's just, I find I can't plan anything anymore. And it just kind of shows up where it shows up. Like yesterday for my supporters, like a day in advance, I was like, you know what? We need to do a supporter Zoom, talk about awakening, and everybody share stories. And it showed up yesterday at 5 Pacific, and we did it for supporters only, that people that subscribe for the $5 a month, because they're the ones who, it's not about, oh, you need to pay me to have access. It's that the people who are willing to do that are the ones that really care about this. And so we can create a safe space where people can share these things and share it just among us. And so that shows up yesterday, and it was beautiful. It was lovely. I'm not teaching anybody. I'm just holding the space, and they're coming and teaching by expressing where they are experientially. No stories, no ideas, no concepts, just here's what I experience now. And it's so beautiful, you guys. Like, and that's spontaneous. You can't plan for that. It's just what shows up. Erica was there. I've put being a supporter into my monthly budget. That it means a lot, Erica. It means how much you care about it, because I know that you've got a young one to support and it's hard. So that's so appreciated. Ashley Stewart, the supporter Zooms are everything. Even when I don't talk, I absolutely love those gatherings. You know, sometimes it's better when we don't talk, right? Because you're just silently feeling the presence of everybody. It's energetic. There were a couple people who talked yesterday who, it wasn't even what they said, it was the silence between what they said that transmitted what this is, because it can't be spoken. You can point with words, and everyone's looking at the finger that's pointing, but really what you need to go where it's pointing, and you can't go there with the mind. You're surrendered, and the next thing you know, it's right there. It's never been anywhere else. It's always been right here. That's what this is, which can't be spoken. The true Tao is the Tao that can't be spoken. Ashley, okay, let's see. We're talking about, let me scroll back here. Jim says, Yo Z, happily retired pain and addiction guy. Love your content and seeing you grow and share your views on life. How sweet, Jim. Thank you for everything you've done on pain and addiction. It's like, talk about a mind fuck is addiction. It is that being trapped in identity and the wanting and the emptiness and all of it. Like addiction will wake you up. There are a lot of people who've had profound awakenings in rehab. In fact, I spoke to one just the other day on the phone, and it's just like, I haven't had that kind of addiction. I have other addiction, like I'm addicted to perfectionism, or I'm addicted to making videos, or I'm addicted to whatever it is I'm obsessed with at the time. So they're all different flavors of addiction. But this person was addicted to drugs and alcohol and hit rock bottom, goes into rehab and discovers like Eckhart Tolle and non-duality and has a massive awakening, series of different things unfold. And when we talk now, it's like I hear myself talking to myself. And we actually commented on this. We were like, this isn't even a conversation. This is just, it feels like just the universe expressing what is through a couple different apparent perspectives, which are all just one thing, one no thing. And I said, that's exactly what it feels like. So he'll say something, point from his experience, and I'll just say, that's exactly how it is. And I could add this, and he'll say, that's exactly how it is. So those conversations are really helpful energetically, not intellectually, because it's beyond the intellect. It's just this like, okay, it's almost like the experience, the knowing of this is self-validating. It doesn't need an external validation. But when you hear it sort of put in a different way, or a different aspect of it shows up in that way, it can be very paradoxically helpful, because this human expression of it does benefit from repetition and validation. Jim says, sober 24 years now, was born with myelomeningocele, and have had 58 surgeries, got addicted, and today is mind-blowingly better. Would love to chat with you about pain management and addiction. That's beautiful. Yeah. So I have a list of people that want to chat with me about pain management and addiction who've reached out. It's really a kind of a, that space is so directly connected to this, that it's so clear, right? Congratulations, by the way. Each day is the present and just unfolds perfectly. L says, the medical establishment failed us in the COVID response. We know that science is rarely settled, and we allowed ourselves to be silenced out of fear of the repercussions. Okay, so that's one assessment of what's happened. So what are you going to do today? Here's what's showing up. So what are you going to do? Is continuing to like loop on that helpful, or are you going to go out and do something about it? Are you going to go become a public health official? Are you going to go get an MPH and train? Are you going to work in policy to change the fact that we should never have lockdowns again? Something like that. That's interesting. So I'd encourage looking at this moment and feeling into what it is you want to do about this. If it's caused you suffering and pain, then do you want to do anything? Or another option is, do you want to look inside and go, who is it that's suffering? Who is it that's upset about this? What belief am I holding on to that something needs to be different? And who's holding that belief? Nisargadatta, Indian sage, said, leave the reforms aside for a second and mind the reformer. The world is an expression of us. It is. So, and I'm not talking about this manifestation stuff. I'm just saying our mind is creating this reproduction of what we think objective reality is. Does it even exist? We don't know. So once you go inwards and see what's there, who's there? Is anyone there? Well, the reforms just happen. So it's just something I might point out. That's all. Let's see. What happened to Turntable Health? But the real answer, Will, you guys want to hear? So I'm wearing the shirt because I still have it. We ran our clinic for 3 years in Las Vegas with our partners, Iora Health, using a model of intensive, team-based, relationship-driven primary care that did not charge copays, was a flat fee for all you could treat buffet of primary care. And that included health coaches, nurse, doctor, licensed clinical social worker, the whole thing. The idea being develop a relationship-based, holistic care of individuals that are at high risk and even normal, healthy people to keep them out of trouble. Manage the population by managing the individuals and developing deep relationships instead of transactions. And it's a model of what I call Health 3.0, meaning the old system of 1.0 was the kind of doctor-patient relationship, exchange a chicken for services, very, very deep human connection, but not really informed by a lot of science, not informed by process improvement and quality improvement, very uneven, a lot of care variation, very expensive, not the best care, and very paternalistic, not very equitable, very hierarchical. Okay, so not the best game. So 2.0 was the response to that, which is, well, then flatten everything into a administrative technocracy where we're all assembly line products, inputs and outputs, and use an electronic health record, which is really a cash register and a compliance machine to measure all this stuff so that we can get better outcomes. Well, we know how that worked. It dehumanized the whole thing, caused massive burnout, and never solved the problems of cost and quality. So Health 3.0 was, well, okay, these two are fighting. It's yes and. Yes to the relationship, yes to the deep connection and the intuition of the clinicians, yes to clinician leadership. No to the hierarchy, but more of a holarchy where people practice at the top of their training in service of each other and the patient, and developing relationships that are more humanistic, using quality improvement science as a tool, not as like a master. So taking the left brain and putting it back in service of the holistic right brain, back in balance, and then paying for it differently to actually promote good outcomes. And then instead of measuring all these little sub outcomes, you just look at, okay, what are hopes, dreams, and fears of the patient in front of us and the population we're trying to take care of, and just aim to do the right thing for that patient with the tools, teams, and trust that give you the ability to do that. So that's what we did at Turntable. And it worked great until our biggest insurance partner, the Nevada Health Co-op, went out of business, like all the co-ops under Obamacare. And overnight, we lost thousands of patients. And we said, okay, we could rebuild it here in downtown Vegas, or Iora is doing this effectively now. It's taking this model and growing it into Medicare Advantage space. Let's just let them grow. Let's close the one in Vegas, which is what we did, and that was Turntable Health. It was hard. It was like the hardest decision in the world. But after it was done, it was so clear that was the right decision because Iora went and ran with it. And what happened with Iora? So Iora got purchased by One Medical, that just got purchased by Amazon. So now Amazon owns Turntable. By the way, I didn't get a dime from any of this because I'm a shitty businessman and honestly, I don't care. They are now under Amazon. So Amazon actually could theoretically do a Turntable type model, right, for all comers under Amazon Prime. Now, are they going to do that? I think they're probably going to screw it up, but it's going to normalize this model. And now Health 3.0 is going to be even more inevitable than it was before. So that's the kind of Turntable story in a nutshell. And actually, it's interesting from an authenticity standpoint. I wasn't a clinic manager. I'm not a businessman. I'm not. I tried to be. I thought I could be. Nope. That's not what I do. So after Turntable closed in 2017, I went full Z-Dog, which was the scariest thing because it's like, what the hell is a Z-Dog anyways? It's a character I created as a joke in 2010, and it kind of stuck. But I was like, my thing is I can communicate and get really passionate about things and kind of clearly articulate them. So maybe if we clearly articulate this vision, and part of that now includes awakening, healthcare will transform more quickly because we'll catalyze the awakening of people to what this new thing could be. And that's what it seems to be going on. And so that's what I do now as much as I can. So that's the story. Thoughts on Nisargadatta Maharaj, says Panda. So Nisargadatta was a dude in Bombay, reasonably uneducated guy, studied with a guru who basically told him, hey, you are the absolute reality. Just keep looking for the I until you see that there isn't really one. And he did, and he woke up after 3 years fully liberated and sat in Bombay and taught people who would come, basically would answer questions. And his book, I Am That, is pure pointing. It's brilliant. You can't understand it from the mind, but it points right to the source of reality. So he's one excellent resource for people who resonate with that style of non-duality. Oh, you're welcome, Will. Thanks for giving me the chance to rap about that. And then Will says, I agree, Amazon will probably be unable to do what Turntable was doing, unpopular opinion. No, they won't be able to do it. I don't think a massive company that Bezos runs is gonna make that work. It's gonna require clinician leadership, people who are on the ground doing this kind of thing. They're the ones. But so Amazon will at least make it normalized, and then we have to actually build it. Hi, Vicky Doc. So that's kind of how it's got to be. Let's see. Sometimes I feel like a fish in a bowl. When I meditate, I'm able to be in the vast ocean with no boundaries. Feel free. Thanks for all that you do, Suri. Yeah, well, meditation is, it can be as simple as just dropping attention. Sometimes we make meditation very complicated, but in the simplest sense, it's just dropping into the present moment in a completely surrendered way. And you don't really do that. You can't do that because there isn't really a you doing anything. It's all just process. So when you know that, when that becomes clear, the process seemingly relaxes and we get this thing called presence, which we never left, which is what we're actually made of. In a way, it's all there is presence. Hi, Life with Kyle. And then, this idea of oceanic awareness, everything is everything is just awakeness. You can experience that. But then even that can collapse into just this. Like no awareness of, just what's arising as the entire universe, as all there is, all that is, everything, just this. No you there, just this. No observer, just this. Just observing without an observer, just hearing, just seeing. That's it. One taste, seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, thinking, all one energy happening only and eternally now to no one, perfectly. And if that's reality, then what is meditation? It's life. This is all alive. Aliveness. Aliveness is what this is. It's what you are. It's what we are. And there is no you and there is no we. There is just this. There has always only been this. And that's all there ever will be. There is no hope for the mind for it to be otherwise. And that's beautiful. Hope is gone. There's no hope. Hope is a thought. There's only eternally this. And it is not just enough, it is all there is. All that is this. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know Gary Panda, but I know there's a lot of like non-dual folks that are related in the lineage of Nisargadatta. Serenish, lighter and more hollow today, also took the US 60 off-ramp, like Battlestar Galactica, hell yeah. So Serenish was on our supporter Zoom yesterday, is like having the profound unfolding of awakening, and was saying that sometimes, just walking or running on a treadmill is like in the Battlestar Galactica where they launch out of those tubes. Like, what's moving? Like, am I moving? Or is the tube moving? Is the world moving? It's very disorienting because the sense of the viewer can collapse into the viewed. And then it just becomes like, what is this? Hi, Vicky, about to sign off my device for brunch with my daughter. Hey, enjoy. Life with Cal says, so direct, love it. That was potent. So what I just did where I was pointing at this, that is not, in many traditions, that's not okay to do. Just publicly, you don't do that. And the thinking is that there are people that just, first of all, they won't get it because the mind can't understand that. Or they'll go there and they'll get so destabilized that they will have no context for it and they'll start falling apart, thinking everything is Battlestar Galactica. I can understand that view. I can see that. And that's like why in the Tibetan tradition, like you can't get the highest teaching unless you've done 10 years of sitting in the cave and all the Vipassana meditation and the concentration, the mindfulness. But guys, we're in the age of social media and YouTube. And I'm pure authentic expression. And to me, when you're ready to hear that, you'll hear it. So why would I not say what my experience is? And I'll say this, my experience is fluid. So I can still have the experience of a separate self navigating a world of space and time. That's still the predominant experience, but all it takes is you ask a question, well, so what's this like? And I'll just see. Oh, it's this. It can't be unseen what this is, which is nobody's home. There's no agent or self in experience that can be found. It doesn't exist. You as you thought yourself don't exist. All that is right in front of your face. It's in your body. It's in your thoughts. And then remove the concepts, bodies, thoughts, and what's left? Just this radiant, perfect, aliveness that is both empty of any substance and solidity and quality in a way, lasting quality, and yet full of the appearance of everything. It has no meaning, it has no purpose. And as such, it has infinite meaning and infinite purpose, beyond the dualities of meaning and no meaning, purpose and purposelessness. It is only now, only this. And you can ask, what am I then? What are you? That's the mind asking. Beyond that question of who am I, is this eternally radiant furnace of reality, perfectly managed by no one, infinite without boundaries or edges, and no separation or distinction to be seen anywhere. That's what this is. It's what it's always been. It's what you knew as a child, and we were conditioned out of, because humans have something called thought that reflects and reflects and reflects like a house of mirrors on what is. And the house of mirrors itself can dissolve. Ooh, your hair looks good. Yeah. Oh, nice. Very good. That's beautiful. My daughter, my 15-year-old, got a haircut, and it actually looks really good. Usually she comes back and I'm like, it's too long still. And now it just is perfect. And this is exactly how life expresses. Daughter comes back from the haircut. Time for lunch. All perfect. Emptiness showing up as humanity, as humanness, energetic ties of love to the family. And yet I know instinctively it's all empty of anything, and yet infinitely full of everything. What could be better? What do you want? What do you want? What could you want when there's nothing to want? There's no one to want, and everything is here that you were looking for. It's right here, always, and eternally, and already this. Worst day of your life is already eternally this and perfect. And worst day is the thought that you apply to the appearance of this. All right. Oh, is Violet here? No. Hey, Violet Synergy. You guys check out Violet's channel, Violet Synergy on YouTube. She is especially ordinary, because there's no special in reality, right? But she's especially ordinary. You got to check out her channel. So she and Angelo are a dynamic duo, and she's got a book of poetry that's gonna come out. Shh, that's a secret, and it's amazing. Points right at reality. It'll wake you the fuck up. We've done a live show together, actually. You can check it out on her channel. Nice to stare in your eyes for a second, my friend Violet. Beautiful. All right. Happy Sunday, Mama Soto. Now that Violet's here, I gotta go, because they're like, time for lunch, time for lunch. All right. Man, I didn't know where this was gonna go, because you never do. I'm just so grateful that you guys show up at all. Like 100 people show up and hang out on a Sunday. Like it's crazy. Crazy. Hi, Diana in Lisbon. Good to see you. Sorry we put it at your bedtime, the supporter show, supporter Zoom. All right, I love you guys. If you guys are really into this stuff, by the way, you can join our supporter group on YouTube, Facebook, locals, Instagram. And when we do supporter gatherings by Zoom, these kind of little satsangs, for lack of a better term, um, we send out the link to supporters, and it's so beautiful, and each meeting gets crazier and more beautiful. It's really wonderful. Oh, Panda, your questions are not silly. They were the best. All right. Love you guys, and we are out.